to their screams.
Greetings, ghouls and creeps, and welcome to Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dave, and I'm joined, as always, by the other host, Ike. Ike, how the hell are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Not horror related, but I watched Wakanda Forever this weekend, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that you went and watched it. I'm still needing to go see it, but I don't know. I'm trying to avoid public as much as I can, and I keep sitting there, and I'm getting to that point now where I'm like, you know what? It probably will be streaming pretty soon. Just wait it out, but I don't know.
I was about to just wait for it to stream, but I've been really wanting to watch it. It's so good.
I do too, and I miss the days because used to I was always like an opening night Marvel movie guy, with literally, it was in one of the first couple of nights I would go see them, and it's just like anymore, man. I'm just so I don't know. It's like I just don't even want to go anywhere, go out and do that stuff anymore. It's like because I always rationale it in my head of it's going to come streaming pretty soon, and I hate doing that because I want to go support things and I love theaters. I love the whole theater experience and seeing it, on the big screen and with the surround sound and all that. But it's like, man, people just ruin it for me though. It's like sometimes I just kind of just have the theater all to myself and I'd be happy.
Right.
But here we are. Merry Christmas, everyone. This is officially Christmas week. Hopefully you've all been nice. So that hopefully Santa will come and bring you something good, and they haven't been naughty, so that Krampus won't come and get his due on you. That's what we're talking today. Our review today is for Krampus from 2015, a fun movie that Ike, when we brought up December and Christmas horror, I literally think no sooner than I finished the sentence of, hey, what do you want to do? You threw that one out there. This is one that you immediately wanted out there, and I see why. I do enjoy this movie. And it was one of those that, would have been on the list probably anyway. But, man, it's like you had your campaign ready thinking you had to, hard sell it to me or something. I don't know. It was weird.
Damn straight.
That's right. I guess a man's got to stand with his convictions. So,
that's right.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And, again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, however you celebrate. Even if you don't celebrate, hopefully you're enjoying your time. And hopefully everybody's getting a little time off and a time with whoever is important in your life, whether that be friends, family, or just yourself. It doesn't make any difference. Hopefully you're getting some quality time this holiday season. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you do. We are on all the podcast platforms out there. So make sure you tell your friends that, hey, you can find these guys anywhere out there, no matter where you listen to your podcast. They are there. So help us spread via word of mouth. And while you're doing that spreading, make sure you're telling people about our social medias and follow us there. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd. You can find us on Listen to Screams. That is Listen the number 2 and Screams. We're at Twitter has always been our main platform, but hey, who knows where that will be in the next day or two. Man, there's so much drama there. I'm not getting into all that, but man, that's a weird platform right now. I'm not necessarily I'm not saying anything about. I'm not making my feelings known, but let's just say Twitter is intriguing at the moment. So, but we have many other options. If for whatever reason Twitter just poof disappears, who knows? And as always, before we dive into anything, thank you to our wives Kayla and Monica. And hey, if you two are listening, Merry Christmas. We will tell you anyway, but I don't know. Monica listens to our podcast. Isaac, does Kayla listen to us, Ike?
Yeah, she does. She usually will when the episode comes out, she'll put it on while she's doing whatever she's doing, and yeah, she'll always tries to give it a listen.
So I got to know here. I know she's probably listening now, and she's probably like, God damn it, quit talking about me. But what does she tell you? Does she give you honest feedback? Because I tell Monica all the time. I said you got to be straight with me here, right? Don't just sit there and say yeah, it was great, it was good. I said you got to be straight. You got to tell me. Where we can improve, what we can do different, better, so on and so forth. Does Kayla, does she straight shoot with you? Does she give you any feedback?
Oh, yeah. She roasts the shit out of me all the time because she'll be like, oh, yeah, you say, oh, yeah, for sure, all the fucking time, or whatever it is that I say. She roasts me all the time.
No, yeah, absolutely.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's what I literally, I can't. It's literally neurosis
No.
at this point. I can't stop myself.
That's okay, because literally there was an episode where you barely said it for some reason. That episode, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's just the flow of how it went. And I was like at the end, saying, "My God, man, get the catchphrase in there! Come on!" It's like I was
That's
just
my
waiting for
catchphrase.
it because I'm telling you, we're gonna put it on a T-shirt. I've already showed you. I've already mocked up a design. We've
Oh
already
yeah,
got it. It's kind of become your thing. And I don't know if anybody's noticed it out there, but I do. And see, I always listen to our episodes back too. And it's not,
right.
it's not a whatever you want to call it, an ego thing or anything. It's nothing like that. I just want to hear what it sounds like and how we do. And primarily, I'm listening. I like to listen to quality, right, to make sure sound wise we sound pretty good, whatever it might be. But anyway, I'm glad she listens. I'm glad she's giving you feedback. Like I said, I tell Monica, when you listen, you got to be straight with me, right? Don't give me the passe thing. Think you're going to hurt my feelings. I got to know how we're doing. So. And usually it's favorable, but like I said, there are some times when she's like, yeah, you got to do this. Or there are a bit of, I will be straight up. Probably Monica's biggest gripe so far with me has been, you know what, sometimes you really need to let Ike talk a little more. And I'm like, I know, I ramble, I get on rolls. And so don't be afraid to cut me off and tell me, dude, shut up for a little bit and let me say my piece, because I do get rambling, and I will be, I will be forthright. Sometimes I am partaking in an adult beverage while we are recording, and that just makes the lips a little looser. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thanks to them. Right? And I feel like I don't know. I've just my own mood for the show here, but no, I'm good. But also, we will mention it again later. But we will be upfront and issue a spoiler warning. We do discuss movies here, so in the course of those discussions, yes, things might be spoiled. We don't look to give away every plot point, but hey, like I said, we get rambling, and sometimes it happens. So you have been warned. So Ike, how was your week? You said you watched Wakanda Forever. What else? You said you finished Criminal Minds last episode. So what else did you watch? Did you watch anything this week? You been on to any new series or anything?
Honestly, I'm trying to think. Well, fun fact about me, I know this is not horror related, but I watch Jeopardy every night. Secretly, I'm actually 75 years old. I may come across as a 27-year-old, but in fact, I'm geriatric and watch The Wheel and Jeopardy every
You
night.
got
Um,
you got some Benjamin Button shit going on.
apparently,
Agent in reverse.
let me tell you, I fucking love Jeopardy. All right. And they
I
have
do
Ken
too.
Jennings. Ken Jennings is the new host
I
because
like Ken Jennings.
obviously Alex Trebek, RIP.
Yeah.
But also Mayim Bialik, she does like the celebrity Jeopardy, which
Yeah. I like her
personally,
too.
and no offense to Ken Jennings, I prefer Mayim. But it is what it is. But no, absolutely, I love Jeopardy. Watch it every night. Watch Wheel of Fortune. But other than that, I recently started watching Big Bang Theory start to finish. I know, Dave, you love Big Bang.
I do.
I know you and Mrs. Geek. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
You guys love Big Bang, so
We do.
we're
We've
starting it from scratch because I've never watched it all the way through.
we've seen it all. Big Bang is one of those shows that when it's time at night, right? Because here's our thing. Our rewatch show is Supernatural. We have
Yep.
watched it 5 times through start to finish, and we just watch it in a loop. Right now we're back into season 9. And when we finish, we'll just start right back over. That's what we do. We have done this now 5 times in a row on watching the show. And I don't foresee it changing anytime, but we watch it because I work from home. So we usually watch an episode at lunch while we're eating lunch. And then we'll watch 2 or 3 episodes, usually around bedtime-ish. And but when it gets to that point where it's like, okay, we're starting to drift a little. Usually it's me. I'm usually the first to drift. What ends up happening is she'll turn on, then Monica will turn on one of the shows she watches, which is usually a true crime show or a drama series that's usually police related, whether it be a Law and Order series or FBI or one of those kind of shows. But then ultimately, when it's time for her to drift or whatever else, it's almost 99% of the time it's Big Bang Theory that gets put on, because I love stuff on in the background while I sleep. I don't like silence. I've always been that way. When I was a kid, I had a radio right by my bed, and I would play something. It just kind of in the background, not high where it's gonna keep me awake, but I have to have some noise. I will wake up if it's too quiet. It just absolutely. I've been trained. I don't think it's something I can change at this point in my life.
See, I'm the opposite because like when I was growing up, I like to have something on the background. I know this is not horror related, so I'm sorry to everybody's listening. But it's very interesting that you brought that up because when I was growing up, I was that way. But when I moved in with my wife, back in like 2017, I remember that she has to sleep in absolute silence. Like she can have like a fan on or something, but she can't sleep with the TV on. So it was a bit of an adjustment, but now I'm used to sleeping in absolute silence. So if something's on, that's
Yeah.
not like if it's like people talking, it keeps me awake. But like I can put on like rain noises or like a fireplace crackling in the background, stuff like that. But no, I can't
Yeah,
watch
but
TV shows while I'm sleeping no more.
yep. But see, that's the weird thing. I like a little noise, and I want a TV show on right in the background. If Monica gets up and gets a phone call or something, and is just even if she's quietly talking, because it's different, it wakes me up. It's so weird. But anyway, long story short, we got all that around us. Yes, that's Big Bang is one of those shows that's typically on when we do it because we've seen it so much, and it's one of those shows that even if I'm kind of half asleep and I hear it, it doesn't pique my interest enough that it keeps me awake. You know,
Right.
because I kind of know where it's going. Um, if it's anything I've not watched that I'm half interested in, then if I hear it, I'm like I start getting hooked. I'm like, I want to know what's happening here, even if I'm just listening. So anyway, okay, so you're watching Big Bang Theory. So that's where we got off there. And anything else? Is that pretty much all you're watching?
Yeah, honestly, just Big Bang. Like you said, I finished Criminal Minds. I'm waiting for all of the new stuff to come out because I hear
Mhm.
the new season's really good. But my wife, she can't watch stuff like in episodes. She's so used to like the new climate of like having a whole season to watch at one time. So
Yeah,
that's up next. Also, Winchester. Once that's all out, that first season, we're gonna watch that as well.
yeah. Well, the first half of that's out. They're now on their break, and they come back in January, so it's
Gotcha.
halfway
Cool.
through. Yeah, but yeah. So yeah. See, I like to binge too, but if it's a show I really like, I'm okay with that wait. And maybe some of that's nostalgia for when I was a kid. You know, when you had to wait for the next week for the episode. I have very few shows, just a few shows that I do that with though. Winchester's is one because, like I said, I'm a Supernatural fan, so I do that. There's a show on Paramount Plus called Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. I
Oh yeah.
love that show. So I watch that episode every week. I just can't wait for that. I love that show. I watch the new episode of Simpsons every week on Hulu because I don't want to wait for those. And then let's see, there's a couple others I do like that. I think. The Chicago shows on Wednesday night. I love the Med, the Fire, and the PD. Love those shows. We always watch those. And there might be a handful of others, but anyway, none of them are horror related. Um, and, oh well, I mean that's not well. No, it is true. Never mind. I was trying to think. It seemed like there was something, but no, that's it. But we'll see. I'm still watching Christmas stuff. I really don't know outside of Krampus if I watched anything horror this week. I don't believe I
Yeah.
did. Uh,
That's the bad part. That's the bad part about this time of year is that there's so many good Christmas movies to watch that
yeah,
you get distracted, and that's the only bad thing about Christmas. We need better Christmas horror movies.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of them out there, and I know there's plenty that I really should try that I've never seen before. But I have a short list of things that's like I want to watch every year, and so it's like I'm checking that stuff off, and then by the time it's all said and done, it's like I run out of time and stuff. So, but anyway, that's I love Christmas. I love Christmas movies. I'm not really complaining per se, and like I said, we're almost to Christmas, so it'll be over soon, and I will shift back to watching just pretty much predominantly horror movies most of the time. So,
Right. Well,
but
Christmas is fun, but you know it's also fun, Dave.
what is fun?
Our top three game. Sorry,
That's
I stole your
right. So
thunder.
that's all right. Let's play top three.
Top 3.
All right. And this week we kind of flipped it a little bit because we typically do our top three favorite whatever. Well,
Yep.
this week we decided to try our top three least favorite horror movies. And I thought this would be an interesting take because while to be fair, I'm very lenient when it comes to horror movies because even bad, even cheesy, I enjoy. I'm the same way with like science fiction stuff too. There's a lot of it's very cheesy, it's very bad, but I still enjoy it. So I can't say that I dislike it. But there are clearly some movies, some horror movies that I do not like. And I will venture to guess that my number one was going to blow some people's minds, because I just think so. Because I don't think a lot of people would necessarily put this as their least favorite horror movie of all time, but it is a movie I cannot stand. Ugh, could not stand it. I mean, we're talking notch below Coyote Ugly hate here. I hate Coyote Ugly, this movie, and I think it'll surprise people. So let's jump into it. Go ahead. What is your number 3 least favorite horror movie?
Absolutely. Real quick, just a small preface. These are just the three. These aren't like the worst rated films for people. These are just like our personal like I
That's
hate
right.
this
That's
movie. And honestly, here's the deal. Like Dave said, I'm incredibly lenient. That's a great word. And so this is probably going to piss some people off, but I just over the years I have come to dislike Friday the 13th Part 1 from 1980.
Yeah, I knew that would
So
be on your list. Knew that would be on your list.
and I know that's going to
Because
piss
you
some
have
people
called,
off.
yeah, because you've called Pamela Voorhees the worst horror movie villain / killer of all time in your mind.
It's
Is
just
that correct?
she's one of the worst. I think there could be worse, at least off the top of my head, but she's probably one of the worst in my opinion. You know,
Yeah.
so okay, so here's the deal. I love Friday the 13th, but when you think of Friday the 13th, you don't think about Pamela Voorhees. You think of Jason Voorhees. And while I respect Friday the 13th as a piece of horror movie history, Friday the 13th Part 1 was incredibly subpar as a movie. And I think that the reason it was subpar is because the movie was filmed, like 90% of it was filmed without the final villain actually being a character. Like they kind of knew who they wanted, but they didn't cast anybody. The person that they casted to play Pamela Voorhees literally only took the role because she wanted a new car. And and the thing that kills me about it is that every scene of the killer throughout the movie, it's a different person, and most of them
Mhm.
are men. So you have this presumption that it's a man because they have very clearly masculine hairy arms, which I guess that's not to say that women cannot have hairy arms because hair is natural, but I just have to point out that at this point in time, it was very atypical of that to be in movies. That being said, Friday 13 Part 1 is my third least favorite movie. I just cannot get behind it. As much as I try and watch it and rewatch it, I'll rewatch it for the sake of continuity, but I will not say that I like it.
Yeah. I do. I like the movie. Now, if I'm ranking the series, it's not necessarily one of my favorites per se, but I do enjoy the movie and I do like it. Now, my number 3 is from another franchise that I very much love. But there are movies in this franchise that I do not like whatsoever. And as the franchise goes on, to me, it gets progressively worse overall. I love, and it's like each movie is just, to me, I like a little less than the one before. But my number 3 is Seed of Chucky from 2004.
Oof.
I love Child's Play. I love the first one. I think it's great. I like the second one quite a bit. I even think the third one's decent. And then you get to Bride of Chucky, and I'm thinking, okay, it's not bad, right? I can stomach it, but then it's like I feel like the wheels fall off. I do not like Seed of Chucky. To me, Seed of Chucky is not frightening. It's not scary. It's not horrific, and it feels to me like a parody of the Child's Play movies. It just doesn't. It's like someone made a spoof. I don't know. It's weird to me, and I don't know. And I very much like the Chucky series, and the kids come back into it. The kid comes back into it and everything, and I like that. But it's like I do not like Seed of Chucky.
Yeah.
When I rewatch the series and I want to watch all the way through and I get to that point, it's very hard for me to continue on past the third one. And then, like I said, I can get through Bride, because Bride to me is not the most horrible. But then, God, then you get to Seed and the ones that follow it. I don't even remember what the other ones are. What are the others? There's Seed, then there's Cult of Chucky, and there's
Yeah.
one other.
There's
Like there's one other.
Colt and Curse of Chucky, which those
Oh yeah,
two
that's it.
aren't nearly as bad as
They're
Seed.
not as bad as Seed. No.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's my number 3. I despise, cannot stand, do not like to watch Seed of Chucky. And again, here we're not knocking it. Hey, if Seed of Chucky is your favorite horror movie of all time, that's fine. That's great. I don't care. I'm not going to knock you because I'm telling you, some of my favorite movies of all time are probably not good movies, and a lot of people hate them, and that's okay because I'm not here to argue likes. I'm just saying, for me personally, cannot stand Seed of Chucky. Do not like it. So that's my number 3. So let's move on to number 2. Ike, what's your number 2 least favorite horror movie of all time?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, first of all, Curse of Chucky or Seed of Chucky, that was a close runner-up. That's a pretty big steaming piece of dog shit, if you got to ask me. But anyways,
Sure is.
my number 2, and I'm sure this will again piss somebody off, is Devil's Rejects from 2005. Um,
Ah,
so, okay, so basically, I know we've talked about this before. I don't hate Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie, in my opinion, I liked House of a Thousand Corpses. I
yes.
quite enjoy his version of Halloween. It's not horrible. It's actually pretty enjoyable. I also really liked his take on the monsters. Quite frankly, I thought it was spectacular. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I'm not a monsters expert, so don't crucify me on that alone. Um, but when I was watching through House of a Thousand Corpses, the next movie is Devil's Rejects, and I went to watch it, and I got about halfway through the movie, and I just realized that I was so just utterly lost and bored with the movie. It just seemed pointless to continue watching it, and it's very rare that a movie bores me because I have a very short attention span, and I mean that in a good way, as in any little thing is going to keep my attention. So it just the fact that this movie was losing me just felt really just weird, and it just felt like a weak movie, very poorly done in my opinion. I could not get behind it. I know that a lot of people love these movies because it's that one, House of Thousand Corpses, Devil Rejects, and then Three from Hell. And I know a lot
Mhm.
of people really like those movies, and I respect it. I liked House of a Thousand Corpses. I mean, hell, it was a good movie, but Devil's Rejects just wasn't good, and it didn't make me want to watch Three from Hell whatsoever.
Yeah, here's my thing. Man, Rob Zombie's a mixed bag for me.
Yeah.
And again, I like House of a Thousand Corpses as well. I really do. I think it's a very fun movie to me. And I love Captain Spaulding and all that and him but yeah, you're right. I'm not a big fan of Devil's Rejects or Three from Below either. I just yeah, they're not that great. Rob Zombie, to me, I enjoy Rob Zombie much more musically than I do anything else. I like I'm not a huge fan of Rob Zombie's music, but I like a lot of his music. And Rob Zombie, I like Rob Zombie as I don't know how I want to say this. We have a lot of interests in common and
Yeah.
a lot of passions in common, and for that, I feel like I should be a Rob Zombie fan because I feel like we have a lot in common. But then then sometimes in the translation, it kind of loses me. And I would agree. I don't like I don't like Devil's Rejects that well either. And it's not a movie that on the first watching I've ever watched again. I don't think I would. I'd watch House of a Thousand Corpses again, but I don't think I would watch Devil Rejects. So I agree. And my number 2 is I'm going to jump into a franchise that you mentioned earlier, and it pains me to pick a movie out of this franchise because I am a Friday the 13th fan and I love the franchise and even the cheesy movies I really really like, but I absolutely cannot stand and do not like Jason X from 2001 at
Uh,
all. I
valid opinion.
can't get behind the concept, even though if you take it at face value, where you put an iconic horror movie character that I very much like, and you put him in space in the future, which I like science fiction, so you think it's a concept I like. Yeah, it just doesn't work for me. Just does not work. The humor to me is very forced and lame that they try to put into it. I don't know, the concept, the effects, the delivery. I don't know. None of it works for me. It just doesn't click. It doesn't. There's nothing about it. Nothing works for me. So and again, it pains me because I love Jason. I love that character. I love the movies. Even like I said, even the movies that some people chuckle at, like Jason Takes Manhattan. It gets a lot of chuckles. I love Jason Takes Manhattan, and but I can't get on board with Jason X. And I don't know. I know some people knock a few of the other movies, and I'm okay with them all, but not Jason X. That's my number 2 least favorite horror movie. So what's your opinion? I know you mentioned you don't like the first movie. What's
Yeah.
your take on Jason X?
So okay, so I like you said, I will go as far to say that I enjoy Jason X. Like it was it's one of those things that I'm not going to tell you it's one of the best Friday 13 movies. I wouldn't even recommend somebody who's never watched Friday 13th watch it. Like I would say, leave that one for like last. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it's like I like the movie. I like the idea, the concept. I even like how Jason looks before he turns like you know,
With
Android or
the
whatever the
arm.
fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before he turned Android, he actually looked pretty cool. Like he looked really old and decrepit, and it was just pretty cool looking. But yeah, no, yeah, Jason X, it's probably in my top 10 of least favorite movies. If I had to say, it's not a very good movie, but I would watch it. You know what I mean? I would not watch it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I watch it every year because
Right.
I watch the Fridays through every year, and I don't skip it. I watch it, but every time I'm always like, come on, let's just get past this. But so I feel like we should have a drum roll because we are to our number one. So Ike, what is your number one least favorite horror movie of all time?
All right. So I'm going to preface this because I know that what I'm about to say could potentially be harmful to some people, and I'm being honest here. So I'm going to give a small trigger warning that I'm about to talk about a movie that involves the concept of sexual assault. Okay. So
Okay.
I was recommended this movie by the internet because I was looking at an iceberg of horror movies. And I want to be honest with you, I've never watched a movie and felt physically repulsed by the movie because I have a very strong stomach. I have watched some really fucked up movies in my time, and violence and gore and things of that nature don't bother me, okay? But you know what does bother me? A very blatant and honestly repulsive attack on women. And the movie I Spit on Your Grave from 2010 is
Mhm.
one of the most disgusting movies that I've ever stomached in my entire life. I did not watch the full movie. I made it about 30 minutes in when they had a very graphic, a sexual assault scene, and I could not make it past that part of that movie. And I just want to make it clear that there is no movie that I would say that I absolutely hate except for this one. This movie I despise. I hate it. The entire series is pointless and disgusting. And if this is one of your favorite movies, I am slightly judging you. The original one, it was more colorfully done. I believe the original was a Wes Craven movie, if I remember correctly. Um, but this remake was done for pure shock factor, and it's gross, quite frankly. There's an unrated version, which is even more disgusting. So
Yeah.
take that for what you will. I don't like this movie. I'll never watch it again. I'll never recommend another human watch this movie. In fact, I would be okay if this movie disappeared from the face of the earth, quite frankly. It serves no
Yeah.
purpose for me.
Yeah, I will be frank. I have not watched that movie, and it's kind of for all the reasons you have said. I've read about it, whatever else, and I'm just like, yeah, you know what, this is not gonna appeal to me. I don't know if I'm gonna see anything redeeming, so I thought I'm just not even gonna try. So
Amen.
while I can't, while I can't say that I guess I can't say I hate it because I've not seen it. I'm not gonna see it because I've just I don't have any desire. I don't see any redeeming quality about it. So we're on to my number one least favorite horror movie. And again, this may be a hot take, and I'm sure some people are going to be like, what the fuck are you on? My least favorite horror movie of all time is from 2002, and it is Cabin Fever.
What?
I hate Cabin Fever. Cannot stay. I fucking went to the theater and watched Cabin Fever, and I sat there and laughed at it. I think it is. Oh, do not like it at all. I can't stand this movie. I just don't. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. Don't enjoy the story. Don't enjoy the delivery. I don't enjoy the acting. I don't enjoy the effects. I don't. There's nothing about this movie that I like. And I'm telling you that if you sat me down with a gun to my head and said, watch Cabin Fever or Coyote Ugly, it will take me a moment to think about which one that I will watch. Because if I have to say the movies that I hate the worst in this world, that's them. And I've watched Twilight movies that I said I don't like or whatever else, but I would watch the Twilight movie 10 out of 10 times over Cabin Fever. And I'm not necessarily a Twilight fan because that's not how I like my vampires. No, I'm not judging anybody. I'm not saying they're bad movies, but that's just not my choice. I hate Cabin Fever, and the thing is, I can't give a strong argument necessarily on why it's a bad movie to people. It's just I I didn't like it at all. Nothing about it. I'm like, uh, And then to sit there and I've discovered and realized that there's goddamn like 24 or something sequels to this damn thing.
Yeah.
Out there, and I'm like, holy shit, who the fuck thought it'd be a good idea to continue this on? And I guess there's a reason why the sequels have not gotten major releases. I don't know, but I told you it was a hot take, and I told you that there's going to be people because from what I can tell, and no offense, I believe that this is an Eli Roth movie, right? And this is his first directorial movie.
Yeah, this is one of his
correct?
first big ones, if not his first
Yeah.
big one.
And the thing is, I typically like Eli Roth and stuff, and have a lot of respect for the guy. I don't know what I'm telling you. I outside of saying that I just don't like anything about it, I can't find anything at all intriguing or interesting to me. I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things. You know, some movies just don't click for you, and for whatever reason. Again, it's been a long time, but Cabin Fever, is it not the one where there was also a dog in it that got infected, and we were seeing it from the point of view of the dog, and it was like seeing red or something?
Yeah, I believe
right?
so.
I was sitting there watching that thing, and I was laughing in the theater. I thought, this is the fucking stupidest thing I've ever seen. And I don't understand, because I've seen movies that on paper are fucking stupider, that are more ignorant, that I will sit there and I will fight someone over. So I'm not sure why it's a perplexing movie, but I do not like it. I have a guy that I used to work with long ago that loved this movie, and me and him would argue about this movie because he loved it and I hated it. And I would try to tell him that he was a fan of the most piece of shit movie I've ever seen in my life. Of course, you know, we were arguing, so I would exaggerate a little bit. But I'm not saying Cabin Fever is by far the worst movie ever put to film. But I don't know. I don't like Cabin Fever. They remade the movie, right?
Yeah.
And from what I hear, the remake's worse than the original. Is what I've never watched it. I'm not going to watch it. But from what I have seen and heard people talk, people that like this movie don't like the remake per se. Generally, compared to the other one, is I don't know. At least the people I've spoken with. So I'm like, well, if they don't, you know, if they like this one and they don't like the remake, and I hate this one, what am I going to think about the remake? I don't know.
Okay, so let me say this, because I respect it. You know what I mean? Cabin Fever is, in my opinion, I like Cabin Fever. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like Cabin Fever a lot, actually. It's kind of a cult movie in a way, because it's kind of like a lesser known movie from the early 2000s, and it's about, like, for people who don't know, it's about a flesh eating virus that these people get from like some kind of like contaminated water or something. But yeah, I liked Cabin Fever. I even liked Cabin Fever 2, which I think is called Spring Fever.
Even the name makes me laugh. I don't know.
It is a goofy name. There is a third one called Cabin Fever Patient Zero. I've never seen that movie. It's a toss-up if I ever will. It kind of seems like a pointless remake or whatever.
I'm telling you, there's like 7 or 8 of these movies. They're still making Cabin Fevers.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, because again, I don't really follow the Cabin Fever franchise, but these are like, straight to streaming type movies, I believe. But I think
I think you're mixing Cabin Fever and Wrong Turn, because there's 4 Cabin Fever movies, but there's about 12 Wrong Turn movies.
Oh, okay. Maybe I am. I don't like Wrong Turn that much either. I'm not a big so.
Damn.
So yeah. I'm not a big fan of Wrong Turn that really either. I don't, but not to this level.
Not to this level.
Okay, so I apologize to the Cabin Feverites out there when I tried to besmirch them by saying it had 7 or 8 worthless sequels. Apparently there's only like 2 or 3 worthless sequels.
You're like, there's only 2 worthless sequels and a worthless remake. Sorry.
That's right. I apologize for besmirching the prolific and grand Cabin Fever franchise. No, I mock you. Again, if Cabin Fever is your favorite movie, that's great. That's great. I'm telling you, I love some shitty ass movies. Love some shitty ass movies. I mean, I'm not trying to fool anybody who thinks that all the movies I love, that I'm some snoot that it has to be artsy movie. No. Don't get me wrong. That ain't it at all. And I don't know, for some reason this movie didn't click for me. If it clicked for you, I'm glad. I'm glad people enjoy it. I mean, because that's great. It doesn't affect me any. and as long as you don't tie me down and make me watch it again. But I just do not like cabin fever. So I feel like we're getting ready to dive into the news, but I feel like we got to take a break here so I can try to get my blood pressure down. I don't know why cabin fever has got me worked up here. So let me catch my breath, and then we'll come back with news and upcoming releases.
Listen to Their Screams is now a Fangoria collaborator. Get 20% off your order at shop.fangoria.com by using the promo code LISTEN2SCREAMS at checkout. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or you can click the link in the show notes.
Okay, we're back. I'm feeling good. I think I've caught my breath. Let's dive into some news. They just announced, or it was just revealed, that there is a movie coming out called Dark Match, which is starring professional wrestler Chris Jericho. And this movie is about a small-time wrestling promotion that accepts a high-paying gig, but finds out that the community is run by a cult leader with a devious plan. Now, they haven't released the release date. Chris Jericho is kind of the most notable, personality / actor in the movie. I'm kind of fascinated by this because number one, I'm a professional wrestling fan, and I'm not the world's biggest Chris Jericho fan per se, but I'm fascinated with the fact that there is a professional wrestling horror movie coming out. Again, I liked Chris Jericho. I know he only had a very bit part, but I thought he did a great job at the end of Terrifier 2. I thought he played the role great. It's cool to see someone that, I've seen for whatever, 30 years or whatever it might be, in professional wrestling. So I'm intrigued by this movie. I can't wait. I can't see this getting any grand release. I'm sure this will probably go to a streaming platform. Will be my gut, maybe one of the more horror centric streaming platforms. But what's your thoughts here of this Dark Match with Chris Jericho?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I looked at the IMDb for this, and it's got some pretty cool names in it. Obviously, nobody that's I guess it depends on your definition of huge. But it has Stephen Ogg. For people who don't know, Stephen Ogg plays, I believe his name's Trevor in the Grand Theft Auto 5 game. But he's also Simon from The Walking Dead, and he was in VHS 99 as the host of the last segment.
Oh yeah. Hey, you've watched VHS 99, right?
Yeah,
have you watched
absolutely.
It yet? Okay, because I have keep that in mind. I'm glad you brought it up because we do have a VHS 99 adjacent news coming up here in just a bit. So, but go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. And also Sarah Canning, who I know her because I've watched Vampire Diaries. She plays Aunt Jenna to the main character for people who are curious. But no, absolutely. I'm super excited. I like Chris Jericho too, obviously. He's a pretty cool dude. He was actually on Masked Singer recently. I don't know if you watched Masked Singer, but it's a good show too.
Yeah, no, I don't really watch, but I did see that he was on there. So he has a band. He's an okay singer, but he has a metal band called Fozzy that's out there. It's not too bad. And I like Jericho, again, for the professional wrestling thing, but he's a huge Kiss fan, and so am I. So I got that in common too. But I'm very intrigued by this. Again, I can't wait to watch that movie. Depending on the timing of it and the release of it, that might be a movie we review when the time comes. Another movie that go ahead. What? No.
I was just fucking around. I said holla.
Oh, okay. I don't want to holler right now, but okay. Another movie that just got announced that's going to be out soon is called Alone at Night. It's a home invasion movie where a young woman escapes to a remote cabin to clear her head after a breakup. She is a live streaming model, quote unquote, a OnlyFans type deal or something like that. I guess, I don't know, cam girl. I don't know what all that is. But anyway, she does that kind of shit. And a mass killer comes to kill her. I'm intrigued by this, and the reason it kind of jumped at me is because Pamela Anderson from Baywatch is in this, and I don't think Pamela Anderson's done a whole lot recently, but she's not the main character, but it was kind of intriguing that she's in it. But there is a trailer out there online. I'm not watching it yet, but I don't believe they have given a release date for that yet. But I'm intrigued by this. I don't know. It sounds kind of intriguing to me. Yeah, it's kind of a neat take because there's sites out there where people can sell content and do different things like that, and I don't know if I have heard of a horror movie that has kind of dove into that a little bit to see what it can be. I don't know if this guy will be kind of a stalker type guy that, from her site or whatever, but it sounds a little intriguing. Ike, what do you think of the premise of Alone at Night?
No, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely watch it. I'm definitely, open to watching anything that has, I was looking at this cast list, okay, and I'm just laughing because this cast list is just so random. You have Luis Guzman, who was, what was his name? He's the main Adams guy. I cannot
Oh, yeah,
remember the
Gomez. Gomez.
yeah, he's Gomez
Yeah.
Adams in the Wednesday series. Like you said, Pamela Anderson. It has Ashley Benson, who I've never
Mm-hmm.
watched the show, but a lot of people probably know her as Hannah from Pretty Little Liars.
Mm-hmm.
It has Jake Weary, who is in one of my favorite horror movies, It Follows. He plays the Hugh from that. Um, it also has Paris Hilton in it. Like,
That's right. I remember them saying Paris Hilton was in it. Yeah.
it's so random. Well, it's probably one of the most random cast listings that I've ever spoken out loud in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's intriguing to me, the concept and the cast, and sounds intriguing. Again, I feel like this will be kind of a straight to streaming movie, which is that's fine. That's good.
Right.
We need content like that. So I'm looking forward to that as well. In a movie that I recently watched and we reviewed, Violent Night has just surprise for Christmas released. It is available for digital rental or purchase on Vudu, Movies Anywhere, and Amazon. So if you did not make it out to a theater to watch it, you can now purchase or rent it on those platforms just in time for Christmas. So Merry Christmas from Violent Night. And we like to talk about conventions. And coming up, there is a convention called Fear Fair 2023 at the National Orange Event Center in San Bernardino, California. And it is a Friday the 13th festival. You have more information at www.fearfair.com. I guess I don't need to say the www, but it was on the paper and I read it, and I'm sorry. And then we move on to toys and merch. I've seen this all over social media. There is a Naughty or Nice line that you can get from Big Bad Toy Store, and it is Christmas dressed various figures such as Krampus Santa, Barbarian Santa, or Gremlin Nutcracker. I have seen, I don't know why, but all of a sudden, in the last few days, I've seen tons of people online posting pictures of these Naughty or Nice figures, and they're cool. They're kind of excuse me, horror type themed Christmas movies or Christmas movies figures, and they seem kind of fun. So if you're interested in checking those out, go to BigBadToyStore.com. Some birthdays coming up. December 23rd, Finn Wolford from Stranger Things has a birthday. On December 26th, Jared Leto from Urban Legend and many, many other movies. And on December 28th, Joe Manganiello from True Blood and, of course, Magic Mike. That's not a horror movie, but how can you talk about Joe and not talk about Magic Mike? Have you watched Magic Mike before, Ike?
I think so. I think I've seen the first one.
Okay. Have you ever at least seen the segment where Joe has or whatever his character's name is in the movie, has a crush on the girl working at the convenience store, and where he goes in and does the dance with the Doritos and the water and everything else trying to impress her? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that. Didn't they put that in like a commercial recently for like Pepsi or something?
Yeah, it was in a commercial too. It is flippin' hilarious. And it is so funny to me. So funny. So anyway, some anniversary release dates for movies coming up. December 22nd, 1932, The Mummy with Boris Karloff was released. And then on December 26th, 1973, The Exorcist with Linda Blair premiered. The movie was rated X, and it was the first horror movie to get a Best Picture nomination. And I think that is highly, highly earned. Exorcist is a great, great movie. And then what I mentioned earlier, the VHS 99 adjacent news. On December 19th of this year, Sonia Edie passed away. The actress was most known for playing, I believe her character's name was Epiphany in General Hospital. She was a nurse there for many, many years. But in that segment you spoke of with the Double Dare game show type thing, she was the mom of the girl who had her leg mangled in VHS 99. So yeah, she passed away. I've not heard anything about what happened there. What if there was if she was sick and we just didn't know or what it was. But yeah, our thoughts go out to her family, her friends, and her fans. Kind of shocking. Kind of came out of nowhere in my view. So some other upcoming releases. December 23rd in select theaters, and then coming on January 6th to Netflix is Pale Blue Eyes. Veteran detective Augustus Landor investigates a series of grisly murders with the help of a young cadet who will eventually go on to become the world-famous author Edgar Allan Poe. This is a Netflix movie. It is rated R. It has Christian Bale in it, who, of course, has been in what has he not been in? But, of course, at one time played Batman. And Gillian Anderson, of course, plays Scully in The X-Files. Number one, you say Christian Bale and Gillian Anderson, I'm hooked. I'm going to watch it because I love both of them. But then you throw in, there's Edgar Allan Poe as a character in this movie. You got my interest even more. This sounds very, very intriguing to me. And I can't wait to see it. This is a movie that I might highly even consider going to the theater and watching. What do you think here of the ideal of Pale Blue Eyes?
No, yeah, absolutely, exactly what you said. Christian Bale. I mean, Christian Bale can do literally everything. He is Batman. He is the Machinist. He is American Psycho. He is Gore the God Butcher from not VHS. Thor. What is it? Love and Thunder. I
Yeah.
mean, he does so much great stuff. Christian Bale is probably one of those actors who, thankfully he's still pretty young, so he'll still be around for a good few decades. But he'll be one of those actors that if and when we lose him, it'll be one of those ones that really just takes the air out of your lungs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, Gillian Anderson, iconic. I mean, literally X-Files, in my opinion, is one of the most important TV shows of the 90s. It is one of the most important pieces
Of
of
all
science.
time.
Correct. Of all time. It is one of the most important pieces of science fiction anything. And I love Gillian Anderson. So I will 100% watch this. I will make my wife watch it with me.
I'm a huge X-Files fan. And it is one of those shows that I hooked Monica on long ago. We watched it. She loves it as well. And Gillian Anderson is one of my celebrity crushes. Whoo my. She is spectacular. I love her. And I cannot wait to see her in this role. Christian Bale, dear guys, number one, like I said, I'd watch him in anything. But man, that whole murder scene and talk about Huey Lewis in the news from
Yep.
American History X. Oh yeah, that's great. Or American Psycho. I don't know why I said that, but American Psycho. Oh, great. He is spectacular. So if you're also, once again, this is our last chance to plug some Christmas horror to watch. Try Anna and the Apocalypse. It came out in 2017 and it is on AMC Plus. It is about a zombie apocalypse that threatens a small town at Christmas. It is starring young newcomers Ellen Hunt and Malcolm Cumming. So this is our last episode pre-Christmas. So this is our last chance to plug some Christmas horror besides what we review. So there you go. That's your last chance to slip in a Christmas horror movie before the holiday. So let's take another breather here. And when we come back, we'll get to our review from this episode and we will discuss 2015's Krampus. Remember, in the course of discussing movies, the host will spoil plots. You've been warned. All right, now let's get to the review portion of the show. And before we dive into the movie, Ike, let me give. I'm sure you know a lot of this or heard a lot of this, but in case any listeners are not kind of familiar with at least the vague backstory and lore on Krampus, let me give a little bit. And I'm just reading this verbatim that I pulled from some various things online. It says, though descriptions of Krampus's appearance vary from region to region, some things remain consistent. He is said to have pointed devilish horns and a long snake-like tongue. His body is covered in coarse fur, and he looks like a goat crossed with a demon. In Central Europe, Krampus cards are often exchanged during the early days of December. His body and arms are strung like chains and bells, and he carries a large sack or basket on his back to cart off evil children. Krampus comes to town the night before the Feast of St. Nicholas and visits all the houses to dish out his punishments. If you're lucky, you might just get swatted with a birch branch. If you're not, you'll wind up in the sack. After that, your fate is anyone's guess. The legend suggests you might be eaten as a snack, drowned in a river, or even dropped off in hell. Sometimes Krampus is accompanied by St. Nicholas, who isn't known to bother himself with naughty children in Central Europe. Instead, he focuses on handing out presents to well-behaved kids and then leaves the rest up to his sinister counterpart. So, again, when people think Krampus, right, it's this goat hybrid type-looking beast who's essentially kind of the anti-Santa Claus, right? He's kind of, I don't want. I mean, I guess the evil Santa, or whatever you want to call it. He, there's the naughty, there's the nice, right? Santa, he rewards the nice, and in these, this vein of lore, Krampus takes care of the naughty. Now, obviously, this has not really bled over to American lore. I don't know. I mean, I guess we've polished it up enough with our Coca-Cola Santa and everything else that we don't talk Krampus. But Krampus is great and goes back. I mean, people don't even know how far it goes back, right? These stories, or how it even necessarily developed or started, or any of it, right? I mean, it seems like there's always been Krampus stories in some vein, under various names, throughout history. Again, I talk about it all the time. Talked about it earlier, just this episode. I love the TV show Supernatural. They did a Christmas episode that had Krampus in it, and
Yep.
it was pretty cool. It was great. Well, okay, it had Krampus in it, but it's hard. You have to watch the episode. There was demigods that were involved, and it wasn't truly Krampus, but it was clearly very Krampus-like. It's a whole thing. But anyway, so that's a little kind of overview of Krampus for those that maybe don't know, maybe aren't as familiar with some of this, and a lot of that description is parlayed into this Krampus from 2015. If you still want to watch it or rewatch it, it is available on Peacock with a subscription, and available digitally. I'm having all trouble here, to rent or purchase on most digital platforms. It is rated R. It is distributed by Universal Pictures, and it was very successful. It grossed 16 million in its opening weekend, 42 million gross on a 15 million budget total. It stars Adam Scott, who of course is probably most known for Park and Rec, but he's on many things. He's very, very popular. Toni Collette, who was in Sixth Sense and Heredity. And a vague overview is a boy who has a bad Christmas accidentally summons a festive demon to his family home. So, Ike, I'm going to let you start, because you've been tooting the horn of Krampus all December. So tell us, give us a little overview and talk us through Krampus and tell us what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I talk about the movie, I just have to also mention David Koechner is also in this, and he's the guy from like everything that you've ever seen. Anchorman, he played Champ.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
That's
David
right.
Koechner. He's so
He's
funny.
He was perfect
But
in the role in this movie too.
100%. But also, the movie was directed by Michael Daltrey, who
That's right.
also helped write Trick or Treat. He
That's
did
right.
the screenplay for Superman Returns, X-Men 2. He was a writer on Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla, monsters, X-Men Apocalypse. I mean, all kinds of shit. All right.
Does some fun stuff, and for anybody interested, he does have a very entertaining TikTok out there. So follow him on TikTok.
Really? Oh man. I'm
Yeah,
going to
he
go look
answers
him up now.
questions and does some funny things. Yeah, he's pretty entertaining on TikTok.
So you have to take this in with the whole shebang, all right? You have these great actors who are not your traditional horror movie actors, except for Toni Collette, who I would say Toni Collette is arguably one of the most universal, and I would say, I mean, she can do anything. Toni Collette, I've seen her in all kinds of different things: horror movies, drama, crime thrillers. I mean, oh my God, she can do everything. But basically, what I want to say is this: if you're looking for a kind of spooky but humorous horror movie about Christmas, Krampus is literally the perfect movie for you. This movie basically checks off all the boxes. It's a Christmas movie. It's funny. It is scary, but not so scary that like you couldn't watch it with like your older children, right? I don't know if I'd let like a 5-year-old watch this, but I mean, it's not so horrible that I wouldn't let like a 12 or 13-year-old watch this movie, you know? So it just, I don't know, in my opinion, it checks off all these boxes. It's super funny. It has a little bit of action, but it just is just enough to keep you enticed. But it really, I think it drives the most entertainment just from like the legend of Krampus. And it's pretty true to form. It's a pretty accurate retelling of like what Krampus is supposed to be. There's lots of books and stories. If I remember correctly, I think you said it, but Krampus is obviously like a German folk tale. And Krampus has a lot of really creepy things about him, and it just honestly, the movie touches on a lot of those high points of like what Krampus is, what Krampus does, and I would also say it has kind of a really interesting ending. It wasn't something that I was kind of expecting as an ending. Um, but I remember I was actually, if I remember correctly, I had just stopped working for the movie theaters when this movie came out back in 2015. For people who are curious, I worked for a movie theater until 2015. But right before this movie came out, I stopped working for them. But my wife worked for them. And if Kayla, if you're listening to this, she went and watched this movie without me. So that's also another reason
Oh.
I remember that. That's a sin right there. Let me tell you in a relationship where horror movies is a pinnacle of things that you enjoy, that is a sin if there is any. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We actually, it's funny. It reminds me that I watched this because she had already watched it. She actually watched it twice without me, um, and then I got to watch. I watched it by myself. But anyways, I forget. I've since forgiven her. But absolutely, if you're looking for a good, fun Christmas movie that's a little scary but mostly just fun, watch this movie. Krampus is something I watch every year, and I will not be giving up that tradition anytime soon.
Yeah, I completely agree. It takes, this old folk tale or whatever you want to call it, this legend, and it does it very nicely, right? It doesn't dive so much into the nuts and bolts and logistics of all this lore and
Mhm.
stuff that it bores you, right? It gives
Right.
you enough to appreciate it, and I like how they use the grandma kind of as a lot of as the conduit for the storytelling of Krampus and everything else, because you kind of go through portion of the movie, thinking grandma's just this kind of this background quiet character that's there and whatever else. And you come to find out that, what, she's kind of the boss in this, right? She understands what's going on. She has the bell. She feels like that she has brought Krampus into it when she was a child and all this stuff, right? She plays a much bigger role in the story of it than what you kind of get the feel for early. Um, but you're right. It has a lot of elements, right? There's humor that's good, right? It's not like this forced, because a lot of times in horror, some of the humor can be kind of forced. This
Right.
doesn't really feel forced. It's got some spooky, some creepy, some scary, some jumps, things like that in it. But then, seeing as how it's a Christmas movie, there is that kind of moral of the story, right? Of the not appreciating your family and your time together, and them wanting to go back to how Christmas was once and how they all got along in this festive time of and being close. And that's how this all got started, right? This kid just wanted them to have a good Christmas, right? And when he was embarrassed with the letter being written, and all he wanted in this letter was the family to be, to have a nice Christmas, and for his aunt and uncle to not struggle. And he was very genuine in his desires. But then because he was embarrassed, he was very flustered, and he tore up the letter and threw it out. And that's what triggered, the appearance of Krampus. And and you're right, the ending, when I first watched it, the ending was great. Again, we gave the spoiler warning, so the ending was great because he wakes up, and it's Christmas morning, and they're all in the living room, and everybody's good, everybody's alive, everybody's cool, everybody seems to be getting along, and they're exchanging gifts, and you think, oh, okay, it's resolved, right? It's all good. And then you kind of get this twist where he gets the bell as a gift, and you find out that, right, they're in this snow globe thing in what I assume is like hell.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming these are like families that Krampus has kind of granted a release of, or a reprise of, but he's watching them, right, watching over them, so to speak. And it's kind of creepy, and it's kind of neat there that there's that one last little kind of hook to it at the end, right? Because you kind of get the feeling when it's Christmas morning that it's resolved, right? And everything turned out just peachy, right? The highlight of the story here, but you find out there's kind of that little last blast, and when everybody sees the bell, you get looks on their face of they kind of remember. Wait, what was that? Did that really happen? And you see the confusion on their faces and stuff, and it's kind of neat. I kind of like how it ended. Um, and again, I agree with you. It's a fun movie, right? It's an easy movie to watch.
Yep.
It's just enjoyable. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to, uh, you know, try to get an explanation for what's happening. It moves along. I don't feel there's like unnecessary lines or scenes in it that just really don't, just for the sake of taking time, it's a very, very easy movie to watch. And as old as Krampus is and the story is, there haven't been a whole lot of Krampus movies prior to this. There was a few here and there that kind of dove into it a little, but this kind of started a thing, so to speak, because around this time and shortly after, since then there's been a ton of Krampus movies that have come out in every freaking twist imaginable for Krampus. I mean, if you look up Krampus on, for streaming services or on the internet or on IMDb or whatever it might be, there's just a slew of Krampus movies out there that have been made. But this was kind of at the forefront a little bit. One of the first ones to really kind of start that craze a little bit. Like I said, I'm sure I'm not what you would call an expert on it, but I'm sure there was some movies prior to this that explored Krampus, at least in part. But since this, it's been a hot mess.
That's what I was gonna say. I think most of the movies, and I'll just warn people because I have watched some of them, they're really cheaply made, like movies that either tried to capitalize off of the success of Krampus, or you might see a couple of like older ones prior to like 2015, and those are just as bad. Honestly, This is like the only big budget movie that was made about Krampus that really made any money, at least to my knowledge. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously, watch any of them that you want to watch. The only other one that I can think of is there was like a Christmas anthology movie that had like a Krampus character in it that was pretty cool. But outside of that, I can't really think of any of the other ones that really stand out. They all kind of revolve around the same storyline. It's just different animation, different people. It's just same thing, just shittier, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, as like I said, this is the last Christmas horror. This is our last episode in December. We're wrapping up the holiday season here with our reviews and our dives, and we've said this all month long that a lot of times Christmas horror, it blurs a lot, right? And when you look at all these Krampus movies, and if you don't pay attention or do a little research, you start wondering, well, what's related to what? What's tied to what? What really stands out here? Are these all just cheap movies made? A lot of times things get lost in the shuffle because there's such an oversaturation of Krampus movies out there now.
Right.
And that's why we've said it a few times with a few movies we've watched where they feel a little bit different and a little fresh because it's not just a Krampus movie, or it's not just a evil Santa type movie or something to that effect. It takes a different approach. And like I said, though, when you're looking, in my eyes at least, when you look at Krampus movies, this one stands out to me, and as one that's, like I said, it was at the forefront, kind of a leader, kind of came out there before it was oversaturated. And so if you're looking for something to watch with that the Krampus story in mind, and you don't know where to start, this is where you're starting into me. I mean, you watch this one and call it a day on Krampus movies. Now, again, if you enjoy the others, that's great. And I could be wrong, right? Because I have by no means seen them all or even seen a majority of them. So feel free to let us know on social media if any of the other movies jump out at you as something, that's worth watching, because there could be some out there. But for me, at least, when I watched this one, I thought, hey, that's good enough. I don't really need to see 30 other production companies trying to do their take on this, really, and doing it on with less money, because I really enjoyed this one. So a good recommendation, good way to wrap up December in our horror movies. So before we get out of here, let's rate this sucker. Out of 5 screams, Ike, how many screams are you giving Krampus?
Obviously we've rated a lot of different movies. We've rated things as high as a 4.5. Your latest thing, I think the lowest that we've ever rated was like 2.5 or something like that. I don't want to give this quite a 4 because it's not like some mind-blowing movie. It's just a really fun movie, but I do have to give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I agree. That is exactly where I'm at. And I know we say that a lot. A lot of times we're in agreement on the screams, but I think it's because I think we have very similar tastes. And again, a 3.5 for us is a good rating, because the way we look at it is, if it's a 3, we're talking that's a middle of the road movie. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's okay. So if it's above a 3, then we found a little extra enjoyment in the movie. If you start getting to 4 to 5, those are the movies that we think stand out in the genre. And so that's why we try to be a little more selective with movies that that get to that range, because again, we don't want to oversaturate that field. And when you get a movie that is clearly head and shoulders, like, what are you going to rate it? How are you going to make it stand out? So I agree. So we're giving it a consensus 3.5 out of 5 screams for Krampus. If you've got some time left in your month and you haven't rewatched it yet, we highly recommend doing so. But that's it. That's it, Ike. That putting a wrap on 2022 for us. This is or I guess no, actually, I take that back. I stand corrected. It doesn't put a wrap on 2022. It just puts a wrap on the Christmas season for us. We have one more episode that will drop this year, and that is coming next week. It will drop on December 29th, slipping it in right before the end of the new year, and I'm pretty excited because we get to review Scare Package 2, which will be releasing the next week. And I'm pretty excited because I very much enjoyed a Scare Package. So I cannot wait to watch and review Scare Package 2. And then just to let everybody know, as we look ahead a little bit further, the next episode, then we are in 2023. It will be January 5th when that next episode drops. And on that episode, we are going to do a 2022 in review. We are going to come up with our top 5 favorite horror movies that were released in 2022, and we're going to talk about those and count them down from 5 to 1. So we're going to do our review of horror movies in 2022. So what we're going to do is we like to hear your feedback leading into these, right? First of all, tell us, are you looking forward to Scare Package 2 that we will be reviewing next week? But then also tell us, what were your favorite horror movies that were released in the year 2022 as we gear up on January 5th to discuss those. And then once that episode's out, we'll put up a poll, right? We'll pick our top 4 because in our poll, you can only have 4 choices. We'll pick our top 4 and we'll let you guys pick which one did you like the most out of the year. So that's what you have coming from us in the next 2 weeks. So Ike, again, Merry Christmas. We are on that week. That's it. We're done with Christmas horror for the year. It's been fun. It's been exciting, but I am very much kind of looking forward now to broadening the horizons as we go into 2023 and not having to have so much themed horror, right? We can really dive into whatever we want and cover some classic movies, whatever else. There seemed to be a lot of interest when we threw it out there of us doing the occasional episode where we kind of dive into entire franchises and discuss them. Not necessarily, I mean, I'm not saying we review every movie in them, but we'll discuss it overall and maybe pick, our favorites. We could tie our top 3 into that franchise perhaps, and shift it around and pick our favorites from, the franchise. There's lots of horror franchises out there, lots of big ones. So we will probably do some of those in the coming year. Lots of things we can do now that we're past Halloween and Christmas. We're wide open. We could pick whatever we want and do whatever we want as long as you don't try to force cabin fever upon me. We'll be good. So that's my request here. That is my request.
No cabin fever.
No cabin fever. None whatsoever. So Ike, before we close out and officially put the close on the holiday season, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Just hope everybody out there has a safe and wonderful holiday. Obviously, this time of year gets a little crazy, so don't go too crazy out there trying to get last-minute gifts. As always, stay safe and happy. And I guess I guess there's one more episode for the new year, so I guess I'll say Happy New Year's next time.
That's right. Yeah, and also I think it's worth mentioning because I feel like it's something worth stressing. The holiday season for a lot of people can be a very down, depressing time, right? Whether it be because the holiday season can really highlight highs and lows of your life and highs and lows of your past, right? It can really hit hard in some cases. So I just want to say that if anybody out there, if this is a down time of year for you and it's got you all in your head and got you full of the feels, reach out to someone, right? And talk to someone and try to work through it the best you can, and don't lose any hope, right? There's always someone out there that cares. We care, even if we've not met you. Hey man, we love you. We care, right? So So fucking reach out on social media and DM us if you've lost all other hopes, and if you have nobody else to talk to, reach out to us, right? We'll chat with you. We're talking to people, so I just want to throw that out there because I know I love Christmas. I love this season. It always fills my heart and makes me feel very very good, and I'm always in a good mood. But I know it's not that way for everybody, and so I want to think of that side of it too. So, but Merry Christmas, everyone. And have a happy holiday. And like I said, we'll shine on the new year coming next week. We'll tell you Happy New Year next week. But all right, Ike. So that's it. Holiday season's closed. We've wrapped it and put the bow on it. It's shoved under the tree, ready for Christmas morning. Hopefully everybody's been good out there, and Krampus won't come and shove you in his bag and take you wherever it is for snack time, or river, or into the gates of hell, wherever it might be. But until next week, happy holidays, everyone. And wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and have many pleasant nightmares.